Every word of this script, including the sentence you are hearing right now, already exists on a shelf somewhere. Somewhere on that same shelf, there is a book, 410 pages. It contains the exact story of your life, every word you have ever said, every decision you tried to take back, and the precise date and manner of your death. That book exists right now. It has always existed. A library that contains everything turns out to be indistinguishable from a library that contains nothing. That is what we are here to figure out. In 1941, an Argentinian writer named Jorge Luis Borges published a short story. It described a universe made entirely of hexagonal rooms, each containing the same number of bookshelves, each shelf holding the same number of books. Each book the same length, 410 pages, 40 lines per page, 80 characters per line, 25 symbols, 22 lowercase letters of the Latin alphabet, the space, the comma, and the period. Nothing else? No capital letters? No question marks? No numbers? From those 25 symbols comes everything. Every poem, every proof, every lie, every prayer, every recipe, every love letter, every scientific paper that has ever been written or could ever be written, in any language that can be transliterated into those 25 symbols. Here is where the human mind starts to fail. The total number of books in the library is 25 raised to the power of 1,312,000. Write that number down. You cannot. It has roughly 1,834,000 digits. For comparison, the number of atoms in the observable universe is about 10 to the 80th power, an 80-digit number. The library has a number with almost 2 million digits. The library is not big. The library makes the physical universe look like a rounding error. When the librarians in Borges' story first understood what they had, that every book existed somewhere in the library, there was celebration. People wept with joy. The mystery of life, the origin of time, the future of every person, all of it was written down. All of it was already here. This makes sense. If you have every possible combination of characters, you have everything. The cure for every disease, the solution to every equation, a perfect description of every moment that has happened or will happen. But here's the thought that broke the celebration. You also have every wrong cure, every false solution, every description that is almost right, but fatally flawed. For every true sentence, there are billions of books that contain that same sentence buried in pages of nonsense. For every accurate biography, there are uncountable variations where one fact is changed. Your name is misspelled. Your birthday is off by a day. And there is no way to tell which is correct. The library contains the truth. It also contains every possible lie, and it offers no system for distinguishing between them. There is a precise way to say what goes wrong. Information theory gives us the language. In 1948, Claude Shannon, a mathematician and engineer at Bell Labs, published a paper that created an entire field of science. He defined information not as meaning, not as truth, but as surprise. A message carries information to the degree that it is unexpected. Here is the clearest way to see it. If someone flips a coin and tells you it landed heads, that is one bit of information. You did not know, now you do. But if someone tells you the sun exists, that carries almost zero information. You already knew. Now apply this to the library. Every possible page exists, every combination. This means the library is at maximum entropy, maximum disorder. In information theory, maximum entropy means maximum uncertainty. Every possible message is equally likely, so no single message ever narrows anything down. You receive a page. You learn nothing you did not already know, which is that any page was possible. It is a consequence of Shannon's theorem, a source that produces every possible message with equal probability transmits zero useful information per message. It is noise. The Library of Babel, which contains all knowledge, is operationally identical to a library of pure static. There is a website, libraryofbabel.info, built by a developer named Jonathan Bazile. It implements the library. You can go there right now, type in any text you want, and the site will show you exactly which hexagon, which shelf, which book, and which page contains your text. It works. You can search for the opening of any novel, any sentence you have ever spoken, your own name followed by any statement. It is there. It was always there. But notice what you need. You need to already know what you are looking for. The library does not help you discover anything. You hand it the answer, and it shows you where the answer was sitting. If you do not already have the answer, the library is useless. It surrounds every true thing with an ocean of near-identical falsehoods. Finding a specific meaningful string in a space of all possible strings is a fundamental problem in mathematics and computer science. The needle is real. The haystack is infinite. Knowing the needle exists tells you nothing about where to put your hand. The library is not a search engine. It is an existence proof. It proves that the text exists. It cannot help you get there. When mathematicians started seriously examining infinity in the late 1800s, they discovered something that should have been impossible. There is more than one size of infinity. This was Georg Cantor's discovery, and it nearly destroyed him. He spent years in psychiatric hospitals. His colleagues called his work a disease, a corruption of mathematics. Henri Poincaré, one of the greatest mathematicians alive at the time, wrote that Cantor's set theory was a sickness from which mathematics would one day recover. That is a paraphrase. The contempt was real. Cantor proved it with an argument so elegant it fits on a napkin. Suppose someone hands you a list, claiming it contains every decimal number between 0 and 1. Look at the first number on the list. Take its first decimal digit. Look at the second number. Take its second digit. The third number, third digit. Keep going diagonally, forever, collecting one digit from each number. Now change every digit you collected. Add 1 to each. If the digit is 9, make it 0. You now have a new number. Call it D. D is not the first number on the list, because it differs from it in the first digit. It is not the second number. It differs in the second digit. It cannot be the millionth number, because it differs from that one in the millionth digit. It cannot be any number on the list. The number you build this way differs from every number on your list in at least one digit. It cannot be on the list. Therefore, the list is always incomplete. The infinity of whole numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, forever, is smaller than the infinity of decimal numbers between 0 and 1. Both are infinite. One is larger than the other. This matters for the library. The Library of Babel is enormous, but it is countable. You could, in principle, number every book, 1, 2, 3. You would never finish, but you could assign each book a position. The library belongs to the small infinity. Human experience, the continuous flow of perception, the smooth curve of a thrown ball, the infinite gradations of color between red and orange, maps onto the larger infinity, the uncountable one. The library cannot contain a complete description of reality, not because it is too small, because reality is the wrong kind of infinite. Could the library physically exist? The number of books, 25, to the power of 1,312,000, is so large that you could not fit them in the observable universe. You could not fit them in a billion observable universes. Convert every particle in the observable universe into ink and paper. You get enough books to fill billions of rooms. The library needs a number so large that writing it out would require a document longer than this script. But that is an engineering problem. The deeper issue is physical, the Bekenstein bound, proposed by physicist Jacob Bekenstein in 1981, sets a hard limit on the amount of information that can be contained in a finite region of space. It depends on the energy and radius of the region. Beyond a certain density of information, the region collapses into a black hole. The Library of Babel exceeds this bound by a factor that has no name in any human language. If you tried to build it, physics itself would stop you. Space-time would fold. The library would become a singularity, a black hole. Before you place the second book, you have probably heard the old thought experiment. Give a monkey a typewriter and infinite time, and it will eventually type the complete works of Shakespeare. This is true, mathematically provable. It is also spectacularly misleading. The expected waiting time for a monkey to type just the phrase "to be or not to be" is roughly 25 to the 18th power keystrokes. That is about 400 quadrillion attempts. At 1 keystroke per second, that is longer than the current age of the universe. That is for 18 characters. Hamlet has over 130,000 characters. The expected wait time for the full play is a number so large that writing it out would require a document longer than Hamlet itself. The monkey theorem and the library share the same beautiful lie. Both say, given enough possibility, anything will happen. Both neglect to mention that enough is doing the heaviest lifting in the history of language. The library is the monkey's typewriter output, frozen. Every possible sequence, already typed, already shelved. It is exactly as useful as watching the monkey type. Not at all, unless you already know what you are looking for. The librarians in Borges' story spend their lives searching. Some form cults, some become nihilists. Some destroy books in the hope that removing gibberish will make the meaningful ones easier to find. One group, the purifiers, calculates that if they can just eliminate enough nonsense, the library will eventually become useful. They are wrong. Even if they burned books for eternity, the proportion of meaningful books to meaningless ones would not change. The ratio is not small. The ratio is effectively zero, and it stays zero no matter how many books you remove. Borges had been losing his sight since the 1920s, a hereditary condition that also took his father's vision. By the time he wrote The Library of Babel in 1941, his eyesight was already severely diminished. He knew exactly what he was doing when he gave the story's narrator the same condition. Now that my eyes can hardly make out what I myself have written, I am preparing to die. In 1955, when Perón was deposed, the new government appointed Borges director of the National Library. By then, he had total blindness. The man who had spent his life among books could no longer read a single one. He chose to end the Library of Babel not with despair, but with the geometric hypothesis. The library is unlimited and cyclical. Walk far enough in any direction, and you will eventually return to where you started. The same books, the same shelves, the same hexagonal rooms. This changes nothing about the information problem. The books are still noise. The truth is still unfindable. We are building our own library of Babel. We call it the Internet. And we are running into the exact same wall the librarians hit. More information is not the same as more understanding. Past a certain point, more information actively destroys understanding. Shannon proved it in 1948. The library holds every truth. It also holds every lie. It holds every version of your life, every cure for every disease, every answer to every question humanity has ever asked. And because it holds all of them equally, it answers nothing. Totality is noise. The only thing that turns noise into meaning is a mind that already knows what it is looking for and why it matters.